aware of being really creepy, like Betty was saying about getting into the minutia of this. I actually think there's, it's what we do with the creepy that's important, because it is creepy to get into the nitty gritty of what people are experiencing. Especially because it often resonates with our personal experiences in ways that we may not even understand. But anyway, they did discuss having this fear of sex. It was very palpable in the transcript. It glowed. Most of them said they'd never had a proper relationship, they wouldn't like to, they were cautious, they were scared, and after relating a story about a close friend who did things with boys at a party, they connect to much wider fears about being known and how this would kill their reputation. This is just really fascinating. Everyone can help me analyze it. Yeah, we've had little things with boys, but they don't last long at all. I don't know, people find it really hard to believe that we're not like owned sort of thing, that we don't have a boyfriend. People are surprised some of us haven't had sex, like because most of us haven't. No, like nearly all of us haven't. And people are so surprised by that. Like like people have said, boys have said, like somebody needs to have sex with her. It's not like we're really undesirable or anything. It's not like we wouldn't like to. It's just personalities. We're just cautious. So we're working our way through how this intersects and is shaped through this specific curriculum that they were dealing with. And the next slide just further elaborates, this one's called Banging the Feminist Killjoy. It further elaborates Rion's words of boys thinking about them as something to do or bang. And also for other girls to have something over them if they were to fall off their non-slutty feminist pedestal. They say, I think for me as well, it's probably a bit of our reputation. I wouldn't like to go to a party and do loads of things. I feel horrible about it. I wouldn't want to. Your reputation would get absolutely killed. This seems like 1950s, doesn't it? I wouldn't want people to know me as a person that's easy to get with and do stuff with. I wouldn't want to have that reputation. I wouldn't be able to live with it. Neither would I. I would feel, I don't know, it sounds really bad. I would feel dirty. I would feel so dirty. Because people think of you as something to do. Like they don't take you serious. They wouldn't take you serious. They think that every boy just speaks to you, just wants one thing. So we paradoxically see the ways in which, hang on. Oh, there's a bit more here. Sorry. So people have said it's almost like they're waiting for something like that to happen, for them to do something, for one of us to do something, so that they can have something to talk about, so they can have that. It's true. If someone asks you if you had sex, and you're like, no, and then they're like, definitely I would, and then you're like, right. Loads of boys have said, like, I will destroy you. That's quite powerful. So we see paradoxically how the ways in which the girls were doing feminist and garnering power and respect also generated deep anxieties. The girls became luminous targets of a pernicious and deep misogyny. So when they discuss about how boys talk about girls as bangable and how boys talk about sex as destroying girls, the girls they're invoking is the figure of the feminist girl. She's the one that needs taking down, and she's the one that needs to be destroyed. And this is part of the complexity of doing this type of feminist pedagogy at school for teen girls with the overcoded body. And we really need to be theorizing, I think, these energetic forces, desire, life, destruction, if we want to think about educational inequalities. So I'm going to just finish my discussion with something quite inspirational. At the end of the research encounter, we were talking about, what they wanted to do. I think the best way of doing stuff will be getting people, like important people in a room and having casual conversation with them as a group, because it's the best way of getting things out, because you think of new things yourself that you didn't really know you thought. Yeah, for like people to learn off people, to understand. I would love to have something like this, like the conversation that we've been having with like the governors of our school. I'd love for them to know what actually we are faced with. Say if like the younger boys or girls or boys sat in a conversation like this. Like I know if I didn't know anything about it and hearing all these opinions and all these thoughts and all these words, Alicia, like the school radio. There's a school radio right behind us. And they point to the machine behind them. Like they could turn the radio on right now for people to hear this. It's kind of like shockingly real. I want to go around to loads of different schools teaching people about it. And we will have had an effect on I really want to do loads of things next year. Let's get back into it. Because some of our teachers call us the underachievers. The underachievers talking again. Like teachers call us the underachievers. I'm like, oh my God, of course I said that, yeah? So it would be nice to show them, actually, this would be a really good way just to prove them wrong, and this is why I feel so passionate about this. We are not all stupid and idiots. So now I'm going to slip back into more academic discourse to conclude. I wanted to conclude with a quote from Lauren Berlant, The Female Complaint. Berlant says, thus the female complaint, which I will discuss as a paradigm of public female discourse, is shot through with anxieties about audience that in part derive from the absence of a theatrical space in which women might see, experience, live, and rebel against their oppression en masse, freed from the oppressor's forbidding or disapproving gaze. Feminism aims to create such a vital space of communal political consciousness. Indeed, feminism's crucial fusing of the personal and political comes from turning women's individual gynogenealogical scars, I put slut in there as a gynogenealogical scar, it is, into the diacritical marks in different kinds of oppositional narrative and social practices. Feminist theory needs to lead feminism away from the impulse to minimize the fractures within the female subject in its attempt to unveil a continuum of identity among all women. So Lauren Berlant speaks of the female complaint as not having the theatrical space to see, experience, live, and rebel, freed from a forbidding or disapproving gaze. Deleuze and Guattari say something very similar in Anti-Oedipus. They say that the schizoanalytic machine must devote itself with all its strength to the necessary destructions, destroying beliefs and representations and theatrical scenes, and finding new theaters of production rather than simply cruelty, where the flows cross the threshold of deterritorialization and produce a new land. And I think Betty had a similar type of quote at the end of her talk. In many ways, this paper is about thinking about the theatrical, those spaces that we need to inhabit in the becoming and doing of feminisms. And I'm trying to talk about this whole complex, messy assemblage of relations, and thinking about what can be done to learn and change and have an effect as feminist researchers, as teachers, as students, as intellectuals. And it does not separate out research from the entire political process, okay? It's a process of entanglement, interaction, and transformation, possibly. So I've tried to think about my experience as a feminist researcher inside of the performative audit machine of the university, the struggle to make feminist research with schools viable. I've tried to look at how schools and teen girls fare when they try on versions of feminism as a means to empower them from academic disengagement and too heavy an attachment to the incidental feminine, as Berlant calls it. You know, my own school goal fiction, to borrow Valerie Walker Dian's phrase, is very, very resonant here. I was a disengaged girl. I'm still fearful of the tag of stupid, but I don't really care about slutty anymore. The teachers in this feminist assemblage, they did create a pedagogical and a theatrical space in the school for girls to challenge stupid, to take up the positions of feminists. And it was empowering and protective in some capacities for the girls. But the various gazes upon girls as teen feminists entailed shutting off their sexual desires and energies in order to embody some version of feminist. A further fracturing of femininity rather than addressing the tensions that they are trying to contain. And we talk about schizoid femininity quite a lot in our work, Emma and I. The sex-negative pedagogy on offer with its focus on domestic violence has only recourse to making slut, for example, a bad name. They struggled to kind of engage with this, but they recreated harsh gender sexual binaries. It was the dualism machine of slutty and non-slutty that created sex as a dirty space of fear. So I've wanted to kind of say, people wonder, why do we focus so intently on the luminosity of slut in our writings? It's because it's such an overloaded code, a sticky signifier, to borrow from Sarah Ahmed again. It sticks onto bodies, regulating girls and women, pinning down their subjectivity, as Deleuze and Parnay would say. And slut is really central to the fractured femininity discussed by Berlant. We need to blow apart this desire to repress or trivialize these issues in school, and Debbie Epstein's been on about this for a long time. We have to grapple with what something like slut may mean, and what in a Deleuzian sense it can do. And I'm going to end by saying that, I have struggled repeatedly to gain research council funding. We talked about this in our group discussion just before I started, bless you, I've struggled repeatedly to get research that was on either feminist pedagogy or with girls as a critical gender issue in the UK context. And it has been impossible. I mean, they're happy to provide sort of seminar series funding so you can go and perform, but they will not fund this kind of research. We couldn't get money. We did the research anyways, but the funniest thing is that this is the research that has the greatest public impact. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the effective emotive power of slut has worked repeatedly, to bring me into the media limelight. The media is interested in slut walk, slut shaming. It has political purchase. So I use the idea of slut shaming as a part of sexual bullying at school to do a news release for my book. The Huffington Post then published a story, young girls subject to bullying and slut shaming in schools. This just happened I think in December. Diane Abbott, who is the current UK shadow Labour health minister, she got in touch with me. She said, let's work together on a sexualization speech. She gave the speech in Parliament. Then she cited my work, and then there was more media coverage. My university congratulated me on impact. But that instrumental logic is only one sedimented line. We don't know what is possible when others plug into our stories. Multiple processes of translating our research are required. They are demanded in order to address the so what of our research. So to conclude, I'm really hoping we can spend some of our time collectively thinking about what this might look like this week. I think impact can be delusive-guitarified, as I said at the beginning, taken in directions inside and outside of the corporate university machine. This would be schizofeminism at work. This requires getting to grips with what we think we're doing when we undertake our feminist educational research. It is tiring, very tiring, to engage in these various theatrical spaces to try and find ways to plug in, interact, and possibly deterritorialize something in the in-between of all of this. But returning to Michael Apple and also Lauren Berlant, we need to be able to sit with the melancholia of bearing witness to negativity via the complaint, so tolerating the status of being a feminist killjoy, which I have to do a lot of the time, like the girls. We also need to provide roadmaps for others as we struggle through the productive yet painful ambiguities of doing politicized, qualitative research and hopefully sparking up new possibilities along the way. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jessica. Fantastically thought-provoking presentation. I'm still thinking all the time, I find it so hard to step out of that judgmental, is that right, is that wrong, is that good, is that bad? So it was really great. I think we'll have lots of excellent discussion about it. Just a couple of questions to get us going before we break up. Stephanie.
So you showed us a lot of slides, slide after slide after slide of text written as dialogue. All that. And I'm just wondering what all that means for you, and then why sharing it as part of your presentation here, to get us connected back to how do we do research with real people about real things that really matter, and then what's the analysis with the slides of dialogue?
What does it mean to you? Because you felt like I
wasn't sure whether or not you wanted us to think about it as data. I mean, I thought you probably wanted us to think about data, but I wasn't sure what you were doing with it in terms of the analysis. I don't know, I'm not asking the question.
No, I think it's a very good question.
I don't have the language to ask the question.
No. I mean, I could have spent the entire presentation analyzing those extracts, and you can go and see 10 or 15 papers I've written doing that, but it's tiresome too, and that would be something I could have done. I think I chose not to do it in this particular presentation because I wanted to get a piece of everything going, and I feel like you're asking a really important question about what does the data do? What do we want it to do?
And how sharing it, like right now, like this,
Yeah.
like how is that working? How did you want it to work for us?
I wanted you to see some of the research that I was able to do around feminism that I'm not able to get funded. And it's just a snippet, and it's just an undeveloped sort of snippet. Yeah.
I will just say, for me, as another audience member, I just felt like you were taking us from assemblage to assemblage to assemblage. So I felt like the script that was there, or the data, whatever you want to call it, was this assemblage, and you were showing the overall territory of the schizoanalysis is what I was feeling, and then so the
I think it's a good idea. I think it's such a good question though, because I probably don't even know. I'm just like, let's do this, and that's
It's
actually.
the script. I mean, that's how it came for me. It was like, this is the script, and I was trying to figure it out. Like,
Can you say more about what you mean? Like it was a script, so that troubled you, and that it was too
did trouble me.
cohesive.
Well, I don't know. It was good because it didn't seem like it was necessarily a conversation, even though you were presenting this conversation, because we didn't know who these people were. It was like a play without the, without the character. So I
Okay.
thought that was, it was interesting. I'm not sure, I just had the experience of seeing it. Because it's also how we saw it from right here. Very large, like rolling over, slides after slides. So there's part of that is also like.
Because I can't see that, so I'm like,
And you know what
it's just
it
in
is,
my
right?
head.
Like,
So
and
yeah,
you know what it is. So it's like
it's really really interesting. Yeah.
I think, yes, one more behind. Yes? Yeah.
Well, I love it. I thought it was great to be able to feel passionate about something that doesn't really wait for any kind of work funding. As Grushy is still do it, and I thought it was fantastic. What I picked up from it was I was fascinated by actually the girls frame themselves as relationship material rather than having kind of being sexual beings and enjoying having sex and going out and exploring. And I just find it really fascinating, going back to your point about the sex negativity, and I think this is really one of the outcomes, isn't it? That really that they can't see sex in its own right. It has to be in the context of a relationship, otherwise you get sucked through it.
Yeah. Now I'm sort of feeling really like, I mean, each part of those presentations could be a presentation itself. So perhaps I did do as a service in pushing it all on you, but who cares? I just vomited on you.
But I think you demonstrated the schizoanalysis. Is the point I was trying to make. Was the schizoanalysis was there.
Yeah.
Individual too.
Can we have one more?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
One more? Sarah? Sylvie?
Comment. Can I comment, really?
Speak up, Sarah.
Okay, hang on. Right, you're the kind of, I thought that was an amazing presentation. The question that Stephanie asked got me thinking about how data figures. It wasn't just the data that was on the screen, but the talk that you were giving as well, and the kind of these assemblages like Alicia said, it's kind of all these paratexts that connect. It's not just an isolated piece of data, like this is my data. It was kind of all the data, kind of like all the things that you mentioned. It was kind of interwoven, it was assembled, and it wasn't, I'm just trying to make the point that you didn't isolate a piece of data and say this is all I'm
Yeah.
doing, this is
I
all.
do tend to not just offer an analysis because I want you to try and think with me. And I'd be more than happy, loving you to tell me any kind of thoughts that sparked up, and that I guess was one of my points.
And you could tweet about it also, by the way.
Yeah, wait, Lisa, what?
So this is a question for you to answer, but a question for the groups is then what do we take from this in terms of how it informs our own thinking about analysis?
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, let's talk about that in the discussion groups. What can we take from it? Now, before you go, I've got a couple of boring announcements, but before I do those, I just want to thank Jessica. For vomiting all over us, because, that can be good. Yeah. Right, from the sublime to the genuinely quite small, someone's sunglasses have been lying about all day, so you can collect them from the reception. You can, the dinner sign-up thing is still on the board if people want to sign up to go somewhere with friends for dinner. Certificates will be given out on Friday, so if you need one before that, if you let Trish or Barbara know, and they can either scan and email you one or send you one in the post. And the revised delegate schedule will be up either today or first thing in the morning. And I just wanted to say that those of you who asked me to make a change, I've pretty much managed to do. And just in case I don't actually see you before then, that's Lindsay Hetherington, Katie Strom and Jackie Duplaise. I've actually managed to swap you around. And Malu and Ida Yule and Katya, your time is up on the board now. So if you just check the board tomorrow before you actually go to the sessions you plan to go to, just to make sure that they're still in the same place insofar as anything is. Anyway, go and have fun and then come back at 5:30 and we'll have a drink and we'll talk a little bit more about this fabulous book that Jessica has co-edited. Okay? Thanks, folks.